Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Limnackern with a look at some of the top stories that we're following right now. First of all, very big day for voters in two parts of Metro Atlanta. Very special runoff elections happening in the Metro. Of course, the first one is northwest of Atlanta, the other one south of the city. Polls have been open for about 3 hours now. And by the looks of things, it's going to end up being a small percentage of registered voters who actually select the city of Mableton's first ever mayor and city council. The two candidates that made it onto today's runoff for mayor of Mableton are Aaron Carmen, who's facing Michael Owens. There are also runoffs today in Mableton City Council districts 2, 3, 4, and 5. And on the south side, voters in Clayton County are headed to the polls to decide who will be their next sheriff in the post-Victor Hill era. Levon Allen, Hill's handpicked successor, who's currently the interim sheriff, is running against Clarence Cox, who is the chief investigator for the Fulton County Solicitor General's office. One of these two men is going to serve the remainder of Hill's term. So here's what you need to know. Registered voters who live in the city limits of the newly formed city of Mableton and those who live in all of Clayton County, the polls are now open, and they will stay open until 7 o'clock tonight. Remember, you have to go to your assigned precinct. And we have more information on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com, if you are a little bit confused about some of the details as well. Also just want to talk about an issue that unfortunately has been plaguing the state of Georgia and particularly the city of Atlanta, which is human trafficking. So Governor Kemp has actually been working with advocates and trying to come up with solutions. My colleague, Atlanta News First reporter Bridget Spencer, has more.
We've got a big problem in Georgia. Human trafficking is that problem, and the governor and the first lady, they're trying to address that at a roundtable that's happening later this morning. Now, the organization called CareSource, they're hosting the roundtable. The first lady, who also serves on the Grace Commission, now she's going to lead a discussion with top advocates, law enforcement, and healthcare agencies on what we can do to stop human trafficking in Georgia. Now, the state already has taken some steps. Just last week, the governor signed a law requiring businesses to post information sheets on resources that might help any potential trafficking victims. Advocates we spoke to about this say these types of steps are all much needed, especially in Atlanta.
People think that it's a small, thing that they're doing by posting in their places of business, but this is actually really huge because it increases the awareness and knowledge around this issue.
And the details for the event are here on your screen. It is being held today at the Grace Point Marietta Church on Atlanta Street. It's starting at 10 o'clock. Now, many different voices are going to be chiming in on the conversation, not just the governor and the first lady. Now, in addition, we are told CareSource is going to be giving a significant donation to one of the organizations that is trying to combat human trafficking. In Marietta, Bridget Spencer, Atlanta News First.
And also this morning, changes on the way at the Fulton County Jail. The Fulton County Sheriff, Pat Labott, saying that he's asked for and accepted the resignation of the county's chief jailer. And this comes after the death of LaShawn Thompson. Of course, we've been reporting to you that he died while in custody of the jail. The Fulton County Sheriff's Office is reviewing all legal options to change medical vendors and enter a new contract with a provider that can deliver the best standard of care. Sheriff Labott says that hundreds of inmates are being transferred to other counties. Meanwhile, investigators are still examining the circumstances that led to LaShawn Thompson's death. And, very popular store for brides-to-be. Unfortunately, the largest bridal retailer in the U.S. now filing for bankruptcy. Monday, David's Bridal filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Last week, the company announced it was laying off 9,000 of its roughly 10,000 employees, and it's blaming changing tastes in weddings for this, where casual ceremonies are becoming more popular these days. Some women are opting for thrift dresses. Bigger trends may also be at play, of course, as well. Marriage rates have been declining since the 80s, and even though they're recovering from COVID-era lows, they still haven't quite bounced back to pre-pandemic levels. David's Bridal plans to keep its 300 stores open for now while it looks for a new buyer. Pickleball, I'm not sure if you know what it is. Still a lot of questions, I think, for a lot of people about exactly what it is, how it works, but it's becoming increasingly more popular in Metro Atlanta. My colleague, Atlanta News First reporter Sawyer Bussey, has more.
It doesn't matter what age you are, and apparently It doesn't matter if you're athletic or not.
I have the coordination of a baby deer.
Which is good.
That's why this is going to be great, because you're going to realize how easy this really is.
It's a sport that took the country by storm during the pandemic. Now temperatures are warming up, and people who put their paddles away for the winter are headed back out to the court.
The different levels can play together and still enjoy it. I can play with someone who's a beginner, and both of us will get something out of it and have a great time together.
You might have heard about the sport for the first time during the pandemic, but it's been around since 1965. Pickleball is now the fastest growing sport in the country. On the City of Atlanta Parks and Recreation site, there is a tab solely for pickleball where people can find courts and borrow gear.
The pickleball court, it's like a smaller tennis court.
You know, they say that tennis is the sport of a lifetime, and I would venture to say that pickleball is. I mean, because as you do grow older, you know, the court is smaller, easy to get into the sport. A low barrier of entry.
Every Friday, Atlanta Business Pickle and Atlanta Pickleball Center are opening up the courts during a certain time frame to anyone who registers to come and play. You can imagine how quickly spots for these events are reserved. I'm told it usually takes about a day and a half, from reservations opening for all spots to be reserved.
In my adult life, there's not that many ways to make new friends, and pickleball has exposed me to this whole new community of people.
Pickleball is a sport the CEO fell in love with, and now has a company created to get people onto the courts.
Every day you come in, we're talking about pickleball, we're talking about paddles and balls and new technology and what's happening at the pro level, and it just brings a vibrancy to every day that I'd be sorely missing if I didn't have it in my life.
Sawyer Bussey, Atlanta News First.
All right, so now maybe you can see why pickleball is becoming more popular in Metro Atlanta. Thanks so much for joining us here on Atlanta News First Plus and Atlanta News First. We hope you have a great day.